Let's jump right into it. Today's title is The Sneaky Feminist and the Beta Prince, a Candace Owens story. Um, Today, I saw an interview that her husband did a couple of years ago. And what he was saying, it just, listen, fellas, it's not going to work unless you vet the woman. The man has to vet the woman. You have to vet the woman. She has to earn it. All this just showing up and just, even when we look at a story like Snow White or Cinderella, these women worked hard. They had character, they had honor, they had principles. They didn't complain. Those are the type of women that can show up and get married, not these modern Western women. I would venture to say that 95% of women in America are feminists. I'm just going to tell you. So, whatever woman you meet, you're going to have to deprogram her. It's just, I'm sorry. I know it might sound bad, but you got to deprogram her. You have to, because she's already infected. The media is giving it to her, the movies, the television shows, the music. Women are bombarded with feminism. And you've never seen a woman, you've never seen women protest feminism. You've never seen women speaking out against feminism on a large platform, on a major network. Never. These women never condemn feminism. Now, Amber Rose had a slut walk. You saw women doing a slut walk before they would protest against feminism. And we know that feminism is just another strand of communism and Marxism. But let's get into this interview.
Days after you met her, is that right?
Yeah, that's right. Yeah.
Tell us about this. Because you say it's a miraculous, like a Holy Spirit moment.
Yeah, so we met in mid-December of 2018, and she was giving a speech at the Royal Automobile Club, which is a club in Pall Mall in London. And I was in the audience. We met, we shook hands. I just knew it was very difficult to describe. Between that day and the day that we got engaged, nothing romantic was said at all. There was no overtures. Like, we didn't go for dinner. Like, we didn't take it. Nothing.
Send her flowers.
No, nothing. Yeah, nothing. Exactly. And so I was very clear about that. It was almost like getting to.
Now, this man said they got married in 17 days with no romanticism. They got married in 2.5 weeks. No romanticism, no dinner, no date, no nothing. Just talking for 17 days. And he asked her to marry her, and she said yes. Now, what does that sound like to you? No romance, no courtship, no, again, if the woman is coming to the table as a wife, I get it. Candace Owens grew up in Connecticut. She grew up Black. She grew up liberal. There's no way she came to this relationship a wife. It's impossible. And there's no way he came into this relationship as a husband. Impossible. Because if he did, he would have vetted her. Now, you are going to say, well, Blanche, he vetted her for 17 days. It's not how that works. Now, listen, I'm not saying it's not possible. I'm saying the probability of it being legit is highly unlikely. Now, in my opinion, it sounds like it was an arranged marriage. That's what it sounds. It sounds like it's an arranged marriage. And listen, the majority of women in the world will marry a guy in 17 days if he has blonde hair, blue eyes, stern jawline, very intelligent, genius level, and he's wealthy. 99.9% of women will marry him in 17 days. 99.9%. 9999 to infinity of black women will marry him in 7 hours. The black woman's kryptonite is the wealthy white man that gives her compliments. Well, any white man giving her compliments is her kryptonite, but a wealthy white man, she don't stand a chance. So without any romance, without a dinner date, without any of that, Candace Owens said yes. If you ask my personal opinion, it sounds like an arranged marriage. But let's continue.
To know oneself in some ways. It was kind of a very strange experience. You know, it was like I saw myself in her. I fell in love with a woman who gave so much of myself back to me. I was very willing to let myself fade and give glory to her. You know, I'm far less politically involved now than I was because she's much more politically involved than I ever could be. When I met her, she was this tour de force, you know, incredible mind, incredible beauty. I was so willing to just be enraptured to her. And that was really what took place in those kind of 17 days was the fact that I was amazed. And it was very different for me than any other woman I've ever met in history. You know, it was totally different to any other relationship I'd ever had, anybody I'd ever met before. I was just so amazed by this brain. That was kind of what drew me in, you know, was her thoughts, was her mind, was her kind of tour de force nature, you know, in many ways.
So was it the kind of thing where...
Now, again, so does he sound like a man of conviction? Does he sound like a man that's leading the household? Now, I can tell by the way Candace Owens talks that she runs the household. And not that she talks bad or anything like that. I'm just saying I can tell by the way, the tone of her voice and the way she talks, I can tell she runs the household. I can just tell because her demeanor is that. Her demeanor isn't of a submissive wife. And I'm not getting on Candace Owens. I'm just simply saying that's her demeanor. It's not of a submissive wife. It is of a domineering, dominant woman. And her husband is letting you know just how dominant she is. He came in simping. This is simping talk. This is simpish behavior. This is beta behavior. The man is supposed to lead the woman, and the man is supposed to set the standard. And if men set standards, 9.9 out of 10 women are going to reject it. So that means you're going to have to go on. You have to meet woman after woman after woman after woman until you find the one that's ready to adhere to a godly standard. But when you present a standard to a woman, especially a woman from America, she's going to reject it. You're going to be fighting her tooth and nail because she's listening to Satan for her whole life. And she's been told she's a queen. She's been told she's wonderful. She's been told all these lies. So I know that he didn't vet Candace Owens and that he sounds like a beta and a simp. Remember, fellas, the man sets the standards. Ladies, you probably don't want to hear this because this is your wildest dream come true. You get to meet a guy that comes from a billionaire family and he's just enamored with you. You don't have to do any work. You just got to show up, girl, and he going to give you your fairy tale. It's not how that works. It's not how it works.
You laid eyes on Candace and said, that's my woman. That's my wife.
Yeah.
It was?
Yeah, it was very much that, yeah.
And was that something that you mentally deduced, or do you think it was like a divine?
I think it was a divine thing. Yeah. When I look back on it now, I think, wow. I very much think that God put two paths before my feet. And this is a great argument for free will in some ways, because, you know, he put two paths before my feet. And originally I would definitely have gone down the kind of the first path. The first path was carry on with your life in London, you know, carry on doing what I was doing, living in sin, being really just another young man. You know, that was kind of it. Like I was being another young man. The second path was, it's going to make you very uncomfortable. It's going to make you very discombobulated. You're probably going to have to change a lot in your life. But this is a path where you don't know the outcome. The first path, you know the outcome. The first path is in many ways material success, but also spiritual death in many ways, right? The second path was, who knows? Like, it was a big question mark. It was a huge question mark at all stages. Like, I never felt like I knew what the outcome was going to be.
So let me say this. So he said him meeting Candace Owens was divine. Now, the vetting of a woman is important, fellas. You have to do it. She has to get in that garden on her hands and knees, and she has to till the soil. You're going to have to put her through a boot camp, because you're going to have to undo what the world has done to her. She's listened to Satan her whole life. So you have to show her that there's another voice out there, which is God's voice. So you got Satan's voice, you got God's voice. She needs to get her ears in tune to God's voice and what God sounds like. That's going to come through you, fellas. This is why it's important that you all be like Christ, so that you can lead by example. Now, he's saying it was a divine experience in those 17 days. I don't know if I buy it. I think it's not a hard choice for a woman to meet a guy, blonde hair, blue eyes, jawline, intelligent, wealthy, with a British accent. I mean, like it's a no-brainer for a woman. I'm sorry. Like, this guy is like James Bond's son. Like, it's a no-brainer to pick this guy. It doesn't require faith. It doesn't require love. It's just like a no-brainer thing to do for the average woman in the world. Talking about 9.9 out of 10.
And that was eventually the path that I chose, because I just thought, you know what, I'm just going to trust God on this one. And that was I converted to Catholicism when I was 19. I lived for many years as abandoned my baptism, abandoned my confirmation. And then I came back to Christ. And really, when I met Candace, that was without a shadow of a doubt the first step on that path back.
Is that right?
Yeah. And it was a miracle in many ways.
So you meet her.
So what he's telling you is that right when he started on his path, and the man has to take the journey himself. The man has to walk on this path alone. No women, no nothing. The man has to walk on this path alone and spend time with God to understand his purpose. He didn't do that. He just told you. When it was time for him to go on his path, he ran right to the woman. So he missed a whole bunch of steps. He missed a lot of steps. And again, it is going to be your decision, fellas, on picking your wife. That's going to be your choice. Your wife is going to be a summation of the choices that you made in your life. Because to cheat that process, to do it the soulmate way, to have you not walk on that path, it doesn't help you develop as a man. It doesn't help you develop as a godly man. Because what it takes for you to get to that point, to be able to find that woman, because the Bible says, he that findeth a wife findeth a good thing and obtain favor from the Lord. So that means all of your chastening that has taken place with you, what they call the pruning that God is doing, God is molding and shaping you, all of that, you're going to get favor for all of that. Same with the woman. She's preserving herself. She's staying away from the world. She's not listening to Satan. She's sacrificing fun. She's sacrificing feminism. She's sacrificing being a boss chick. She's going to get favor for her troubles, because the man gets the favor. He's going to give it to his wife.
The dinner.
Yeah. At a speech. Yeah.
At a speech. And then 17 days. You're in the UK. You're in the United Kingdom. She's American. You just give her a call on the cell phone. I mean, how's that work out?
We FaceTimed. I flew to the US. So we met, we talked. I knew from the moment that I met her, I flew to the US. I spent some time with her in the US. She was giving some speeches. We spent some time together. I flew back to the UK. I FaceTimed her. We FaceTimed for a few days in a row. And then at the end of that, I flew to South Africa. And when I got to South Africa, I FaceTimed her and, basically asked her to marry me. And in those, I as I said, like I very much felt God's hand in all of that. And I had one car journey, which I will never forget. In this car journey, I felt God speak to me, and he said, like, this is the path before your feet, the path before you. At that time I was praying. I wasn't really spiritually engaged, but what I was praying, if at all, was, Lord, show me the path before my feet. Lord, show me the way that you want me to take. Yeah, exactly. And that was where I drew it from. And
it's humble.
Yeah, and I was a lost soul at the time. There was no doubt about it.
So he's telling you a good story. He said he was praying, but he wasn't really spiritually engaged. So he said he was just praying, sounds like a generic prayer, and God answered that prayer. Not saying that God doesn't answer prayers, not to say that God isn't listening, but for me to think that Candace Owens just picked this man because she fell in love in 17 days, I don't believe it. Do I believe that he loved this woman in 17 days? No. Do I believe it was some type of arrangement that happened? Yes. Now, listen, I'm not saying that people cannot grow to love each other. I'm not saying they don't love each other. I'm saying this initial 17-day process, fellas, is not going to work for you. It's just not. Because you have to vet the woman. I guarantee Candace Owens run the house. And you heard this man say that he wanted to fade into the background. He just wanted to fade into the background and be in awe of her. So this is what happens when you go 17 days. When there's 17 days, you get pushed to the background. You got to make everything about her. That is a simp's existence. That is a beta's existence. That is a cuck's existence. A man is supposed to lead and set the standard. A man is supposed to guide, provide, and assume the responsibility. So, fellas, the 17-day thing is not going to work for you. And ladies, if a man marries you in 17 days, you best believe that he's a simp, he's a beta, or he's a cuck. I'm telling you, you're not going to respect him. Ladies, you are not going to respect a man that marries you in 17 days, because deep down inside, you know you didn't earn this. Deep down inside, Candace Owens knows she didn't earn it. Women know, fellas. They know. And when you give them what they have not earned, they're going to resent you for it. Because women want to be led. Women want to be led righteously. So listen, fellas, 17 days is not going to work for you. And ladies, it's not going to work for you either.
And so the Lord showed me these two paths. And he said, as I said, like, one path is the way that you know. In many ways, it's a way to death. It's Satan's path. The second path is you don't know the outcome, but you're going to have to trust me on this one.
Yeah.
And, now I look back on it, we've been married for 4 years. We've known each other for coming up to 5 years. Without Candace, I don't know what I would be. I would be nothing. I'd be insignificant. We're a partnership. Everything we do is a partnership. We are, like, to draw a popular metaphor, it's like the Game of Thrones, the Song of Ice and Fire. She's fire, I'm ice. We kind of match.
This man said, I would be insignificant without her. Now, I want you to think about somebody saying, I would be insignificant without Christ. Somebody say, without Christ, I'm nothing. Without my wife, I'm nothing. As a man, you can't talk like that. As a man, you can't think like that. As a man, you have to say, if I wasn't with this woman, I would be with another woman. Not saying you don't love your wife, not saying you don't honor your wife, but to say that you'll be insignificant without her, and you were already significant when you met her, no. Now, again, this stuff sounds good. This stuff sounds good, but in practicality, it doesn't work, because you have to vet the woman. And again, most women in America are feminists.
It's just, it's a beautiful relationship. And I mean, you've been married for a very long time. You probably know exactly what I'm talking about. But when you find the right partner in life, it's life changing. It's the most beautiful thing that you could possibly hope to imagine. Because in many ways, it's like the church, and it is the church in Christ. That's the whole point. It's the church is the beautiful bride of Christ. And that's kind of, again, it comes back to theology. Like, she is my bride. I want to be the best person I want to be the best person for her, and she wants to be the best person for me. You know, and in the same way that Christ gives himself to the church, I want to give myself to her. There's so much theology there. And that kind of, for me, that was the biggest thing in my life. You know, as soon as I met her, as soon as I became, you know, we became engaged, I became enamored with her. I just started giving my life back to Christ.
Would you say that when you...
So he meets, so meeting Candace Owens kicks off his path to Christ. Now, I'm not saying that, you know, it's impossible. You know, you can come to Christ many ways, in many situations. But I'm telling you, as a man that's going to get married, you have to vet the woman. But before you even think about getting married, you have to go on your path alone, because you have to become the man that God wants you to be. I'm not talking about you out here in the street. Like he said, he went from playing in the streets to marrying Candace Owens. It's not how that works. The man has to take that path alone, and he has to become the man who God wants him to be. If you ever seen the movie 300, they send the boys out on a mission. If you could survive for one night out in the wilderness, you know, or however many nights it was, because the Leonidas came back with a wolf's mane on, or wolf's cloak on, because he killed the wolf. But they take the young man out and they set him on their own, and they got to survive. And if they come back, then, you know, that's one of the tests they pass. And it's the same way with us as men on this thing called life. We have to walk on this journey. We got to become God has to forge us into the man we're supposed to be. Then we go and find a wife. We have to be the husband to find the wife. It's not, no, I'm going to become the husband when I find a wife. No, you got to be the husband, then you go find a wife. Any other scenario has the woman running the house. And if the woman runs the house, then you know that Satan is running the house.
experienced her, you said, I would get on a cross for this woman.
Yeah, probably. Yeah.
Because that's
Yeah.
Christ in the church.
Yeah.
That's kind of, I think, where maybe the Andrew Tates of the world don't quite understand that maybe the man is the sheikh or the king or the emperor, whereas in Catholicism, Christ is the king, he is the emperor, he's the Lord of Lords, the King of Kings, and yet he goes onto the cross for the sake of the bride, the church. And that really is the heart and the mystery of Catholicism. It's all the sacraments, but in particular, it's the sacrament of matrimony.
Yeah.
Now, did Candace expect you to just FaceTime and say, will you marry me? I mean,
No, I didn't.
This has to be shocking for a woman. And she said yes.
Yeah, I mean,
obviously.
arguably one could say, well, yeah, arguably one could say she was as equally crazy as I was. You know?
Right.
Like, why would she say yes?
Yes.
Yeah. She said this in the public sphere before, but why would you do that kind of thing? Why would you be as crazy as he was? I think she would say that she also knew from the kind of moment that she met me in many ways that I was her husband, or future husband as it was then.
Now, is it possible for two people to meet and have instant chemistry? Yes. And have instant attraction? Yes. To instantly like each other's company? Yes. But we're talking about marriage, and marriage is beyond chemistry, like, and attraction and enjoying someone's company. Now, somebody said that Candace Owens was crazy. She made the most logical and sound decision of her life. She married a man that comes from a wealthy family. That is a no-brainer. That is a no-brainer. She married a guy that comes from a wealthy family worth billions, that looks like he was born in Asgard, and he has a British accent to top it all off. So again, it was a no-brainer for her. But did she earn it? The answer is no, because I know he didn't vet her. I know he didn't vet her, because a 17-day vetting process, boot camp / garden work / tilling the land work, she would have tapped out. She's American with a whole bunch of feminist doctrine inside of her. And not just Candace Owens, it's most American women.
Yeah, I mean, we kind of knew, as I said, not everyone will experience that. God works himself into different people's lives through different ways. It's not always the same. For me, it was very much that experience. For me, it was the wake up call that I needed. It was, God coming back into my life. It wasn't just Candace coming into my life. It was God coming back into my life. It was a real miracle in many ways. And I think she knew as well. She knew from the moment that she met me that I was to be her husband. And so we both knew, and we just saw it from the outset. And obviously, here we are. We've got 2 kids in the world and 1 kid on the way to the world. And, it's a remarkable existence we have. And I trust God with so much more now because I know that he trusted me with this relationship.
Yes. Yes.
Again, what he's saying sounds good. It does. At the same time, I just know that there wasn't a vetting process. And I know that she came into the relationship with a whole bunch of feminist doctrine. And it's inevitable because she was fed it her entire life, especially being a Black woman. So she's being told she was a queen, she's Eve, she's a goddess. I mean, just all of these things. And then on top of that, she gets the feminism. And then on top of that, she sees the Black community where it's a matriarchy. So I'm not saying it's not possible. I'm not saying that their story can't be possible, but the likelihood of it, to me, is it's not. Because on this journey I've been on these past 5 years, doing it the right way, it's nothing you can't be prepared for, because there's no examples that you've seen around you. Most married couples that you see fornicated before marriage. Most households, not all, but a lot of households are dysfunctional. A lot of men married women that were feminists. This is you in America. Most Black men are prisoners of war. They're just held captive by Black women in a relationship. I mean, I'm giving y'all the rundown. So, to say that all that took place in 17 days, I just can't see it. It sounds like more to me that it was more of an arrangement. It's a no-brainer for Candace Owens. And if he liked her somewhat and he's like, I'll choose her, then it was a no-brainer for him. But it sounds more of an arrangement than it was just, love at first sight, or she knew and he knew. I just don't know. It's just hard for me to believe. Not saying it's impossible. I know a lot of folks disagree in the comments with what I'm saying. I know folks going to say I'm hating. They're going to say all these things, but I'm really not. I'm just letting men know specifically, because women going to eat this up. This is a woman's greatest fantasy right here, where you don't have to change anything. You can just show up and marry the prince. It's not reality. I can just show up and marry the woman. No, it's not how that works. If we use the analogy of Christ, look what Christ had to go through to create the church. Look what Christ had to do to create the church and be a husband to the church, and for the church to be his bride. Look what he had to do, and look what the church has to do. How was the church a bride to Christ? So again, this just showing up and getting all this stuff without doing nothing, I just don't buy it. And I guarantee the household is ran by Candace Owens. Same with Russell Wilson and Sierra. Same with Serena and her guy. And again, Black women are enamored with white men. White men showing Black women attention, it's nothing like it. It's their kryptonite. And if he has a British accent, and if he's wealthy, easy on the eyes, she's toast. She's done. Or she's a biscuit. I'll give you an example right here. Yes, ma'am. You got smooth skin. Sorry, I'm not trying to be. You got smooth skin. Could listen. Yes, ma'am. You got smooth skin. Sorry, I'm not trying to be. You got smooth skin. That was good. These black women get with these white men, and for the most part, they get on their best behavior. They on their best behavior because they don't want to look bad in front of him. It's still psychological. It's still propaganda and programming. It's all these things. Most interracial couples are liberal. I can tell that Candace Owens' husband, George Farmar, is a liberal. He's liberal. He's a liberal beta simp. And Candace Owens, deep down inside, is a liberal. She has some conservative talking points, but the only way you'd marry a guy in 17 days is if you were a liberal, because he's only a liberal guy is going to do that. A pragmatic guy's not going to do that. Listen, ladies, there are only two types of men in the world, either wise or foolish. You got to ask yourself in your life, what type of men have you dated? There's not this in-between guy where he's going to have swag and be a gangster, but also love the Lord. It's not going to happen. He's going to be wise or he's going to be foolish. So again, Candace Owens married a simp. So I know she's a liberal. She had a book just released a couple of months ago and it said, make him a sandwich. I saw that book. It's propaganda. She's acting like she's not a feminist. And that's why I say she's a sneaky feminist, because she masked her feminism in conservatism and in being a wife. But I assure you, it's all for show. I can tell. Folks get mad at me when I say this, but I can tell when somebody's saying something to me, I can tell the spirit. When somebody is doing something, I can tell this. I can see it. I can actually see the spirit. I don't want to call it a gift. I'm gonna just say it's a blessing that I can see it and be and protect myself. Anyway, listen, y'all. I love you all. I thank y'all for tuning in today. Remember, fellas, men set the standards. Thank you.